Hello and happy Mother's Day. Man, it's Mother's Day. Can you believe that? That is so cool. I've been debating on whether I was going to do this or not. And it's been on my heart. So I think I need to do it. I don't really talk about my mom a lot. I don't know why. But I think there's a lot of us now that are kind of going through this. We're really going through the part that maybe we haven't lost our mom, but maybe our mom really wasn't a big part of our life the way she wasn't the mom to us. We needed her to be, but there was someone in our life who was that person. And maybe now we don't have that person anymore because that person's gone. That's just the same as a mom, especially if they were filling that spot that our mom was supposed to fill, but didn't. All right. So I think that's why it's been on my heart that I need to do this, because it's sad to say, but when I lost my mom, there really wasn't anyone that I knew of, or anyone in my age range or anything that lost a parent before. So nobody could really relate. Okay. And what I mean by that is I'm thankful nobody could relate, because I didn't want them to go through what I was going through. But at the same time, I didn't really have anyone to reach out to. I didn't really have anyone to talk to about what I was feeling. I was feeling angry. I was feeling upset. I was feeling hurt. I was feeling abandoned. I was feeling all these emotions, and I just kept them inside because I really didn't know who to talk to or how to talk to anyone. And when I would go to talk to someone about something, the first thing people would say is, "Oh, she's in a better place now. She's in a better place." And in my heart, I knew that. I truly knew that. But in my head and in my mind and as her daughter, I didn't need to hear that. You know what I mean? I didn't need to hear that, because that kind of hit me in a different way. And nobody meant anything bad by it. Because here's the thing about grief and when people die, the people around you, they just want to help you feel better. So they're saying things and they're not meaning them to be hurtful. They're not meaning to say anything bad or anything like that. They're just trying to help you through that time. And I knew that. I knew they were. But at that time, and it still hurt, because here I am, this selfish daughter that I wanted my mom. I truly wanted my mom. And though I wouldn't wanted her to live one more day the way that she was living, because it was terrible. She couldn't breathe. She had really no life. She didn't. But at the same time, that was my mom. And I needed my mom. I needed her. I really needed her. But I didn't want to be selfish, because it's it was bigger than me. I had to think about her. I had to think about those times when I looked at her and I saw that she was gone, she was holding on just for us. And part of that, that broke me inside, because, man, that is the love of a mom. That is the love of a mom for her children and the people around her, that she wants so bad just to make sure that they're okay. And she wants to hang on for everything that she has, because she does not want them to be in pain and she doesn't want to hurt them. So I saw that, and man, it broke me. It legit broke me, because I couldn't stand to see my mom in pain. I could not stand to see her not be able to breathe. Okay. I could not stand to see her not be able to be a mom to my brother and sister, be a grandma to my kids. That was heartbreaking. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be that mom, and she wanted to be that grandma, and she couldn't do that. But yes, she was holding on so tight, seriously holding on. And I look back at the years, and I'm so thankful. I'm thankful for my mom. I'm thankful for everything she taught me. I'm thankful for all the morals she instilled in me, for all the values. I'm thankful for all that. This is kind of weird to say, but we really didn't have a mother-daughter relationship. We had the type of relationship to where she taught me what I needed to do. She taught me what I needed to know. She prepared me for the future. She did all that. She loved me unconditionally and with all of her heart. She loved me the way that she knew how to love. My mom didn't show emotions. She did not show emotions. But she did the best she could with what she had, And I remember there was, I think it was my 10th birthday. And I want to have this episode for for people nowadays that are my age or younger and they've lost that person that's close to them, like a mom or their mom. Okay. So I want to have this episode for them. I want them to be able to chime in and to know that they're seen and they're heard and their feelings are like, their feelings matter. And I know what they're going through. Like I know what they're going through. And my heart hurts for them. It hurts. I can't help them. I can listen and I can be there, but I can't help them because it's something you need to go through. And so I want this as an episode to where we can cherish those memories we have. We can cherish those things that we learned, you know? So I remember on my 10th birthday, I think, and it was back in the day when we had these things called like charm necklaces. And so they were these little like cheap plastic necklaces and you got these little charms and they hooked onto them. And there might be like a record or I don't even remember, maybe like a pizza or something, or maybe some jewelry. Like, I don't know, whatever you were into, there was a charm for it. So I remember that I woke up on my 10th birthday and on my nightstand, my mom had, she got me this charm necklace that, man, I had wanted it for like so long, you know, just, I don't even know how long, but I woke up and on my birthday, there was that necklace. And I remember that morning, like it just made my day. It made me feel just so awesome, you know, like to me, it was the best thing in the world. Just these cheap little necklaces, but it was so special. And I remember one time when my mom, like, she had a mean streak, like she really did. She wasn't like mean, but man, she could just say your full name and you knew that you were going to be in trouble. Like it was over. That there's nothing else to it. Like it legit was over. Like she could even mix your name up at the beginning and you knew you were in trouble. So I remember this one time when, man, my dad had gotten me this like really, really cool jacket and I just loved that thing. And one time he told me that he was going to come pick me up. And I think I was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. And he told me he was going to come pick me up and he didn't show up. And I guess this was like a normal thing. I don't really remember, but I guess that was a normal thing. I remember grabbing my mom's lighter and I go into my bedroom and we didn't have the floors that were like vinyl or whatever they are now. We had these things, maybe they were like linoleum or I don't know. They were just like squares and stuff. But anyway, I sat that jacket down right there in the middle of my floor. Just picture it. You walk into your bedroom and you see a small area where you can walk and then you see your bed. So in between my door and my bed, I just decided I'm going to put this jacket on the floor. I laid it out, you know, just like I think it was in Girl Scouts because that's how I learned how to make a fire. But anyway, so I laid this jacket out. I grabbed a lighter and I lit it on fire and I sat there and I watched it burn. I just sat there. Because I was so mad at my dad. And that was what he'd given me. And I'm like, I'm just going to do this. Next thing I know, I feel this yank. Mom yanks me up. She tore me up. I mean, she legit tore me up. And it wasn't no child abuse or nothing. Like, I could have burned the house down. I look back on it and I'm surprised I'm not dead. Like, if one of my kids did that, oh my goodness, it would be like the end of the world for them. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, like, I really could have burned our house down. All because I was mad. And because I was mad, like I started this fire. Like, are you serious? So my mom yanks me up. She like legit gives me like probably the spanking I've only had in my life. And I look down, she cleans it up. And after that, there's this big hole in my floor, like all the way down to the concrete. And it just stayed there. She never fixed it. I think she left it there to remind me of the crazy crap that I did. I really do think that's what she did. And then I remember there was another time that my mom had told me to take it out the trash. And I didn't take the trash out. And she was so mad at me. And she used to drink these Pepsi. That was her favorite drink. But they came in like these glass like bottles. They were about 16 ounces or so. It's kind of like where you hear the term when people's glasses are so thick, they're like Coke bottles. That's where it comes from the bottom of those bottles because they were like super thick. So she used to drink those. So I think she threw one in the trash or something. Well, she told me to take the trash out. I didn't take it out. So here comes my mom, and she's so furious and she's so mad. She grabs the trash and she goes to take it out the door. Well, the next thing I know, she comes back in and her whole ankle is slit open because one of those bottles broke and it was sticking out of the trash and it slit her ankle open. So she's bleeding everywhere. I'm crying because I'm like, oh my goodness, my mom's bleeding and I should have taken out the trash. Well, she wasn't upset with me. She was thankful. My mom was sitting there and she had needed stitches. She had to go to the hospital, but she was thankful. Like, she was thankful that I didn't take out the trash because then I would have been the one that got cut. And man, I just think about that when I was a kid. Those like little things, and like the things she gave up for us, the things you don't realize as a kid, the long hours she worked, the like time she put in. Like she's a single mom. So, but every Friday we had pizza. Like Little Caesars, you buy one, get one free. And we looked forward to that. She did what she could with what she had. And I remember I was so angry. So angry when she wouldn't take care of herself. And when she was really, really sick. I was so angry to where, truly a part of me, I probably hated her. I probably did, because it was easier for me to hate her and to not like her than to get used to the fact that she wasn't going to be there for me. There was a part of me, I just carried that, and I'm like, that's just how I dealt with it, because I was like, how can she do this and she's got kids to raise? You know what I mean? Like, how can she not take care of herself? And that whole time my mom was sick, she never complained to us. She never did. She could not breathe. She could not take 2 or 3 steps without gasping for air. But she didn't complain when I worked long hours and my kids had to stay over there. She didn't tell me no, they couldn't stay there. She didn't complain to me. She opened her door and she welcomed us in. And she loved unconditionally. Like, she legit would give you the shirt off her back. And I think about those times when I could have been nicer. I really could have. But I wasn't. I was young. I was mad. I was angry. I was selfish. To this day, I'm still that selfish daughter. That's me, and I'll own it. Because there's not a day that goes by that I don't wish that my mom was here. Like, and that's selfish, because the way that she couldn't breathe, she's better where she is. And my heart doesn't like that. But I know it's for the best. So I think about the times when she didn't feel like getting up. She didn't feel like doing anything, but she dealt with my kids, She dealt with all these little kids running around because that made her heart happy. If somebody needed something, and my mom didn't have much at all, but when somebody needed something, my mom gave it to them. She gave it to them. So in my eyes, like, even in the times when I couldn't stand my mom, and it probably was for no good reason that I couldn't stand her, but even during those times, she would give up everything for anybody, and she'd figure it out. She would go without so others could eat. She would do anything for kids, anything. She would open her door and just welcome anybody in. If you didn't have a place to stay, you could stay at my mom's house. Guarantee you, she'll find a place for you. She's not going to turn you away. And so that was one thing that I look back, and it was always instilled in me that, part of it's enabling too, but there's always going to be someone who has less than you do. There's always going to be someone who has more than you do. But that person that has less than you do, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they've been through. You don't even know where they are. But sometimes all someone needs is that helping hand. And my mom was that helping hand to many, many people. And I'm so thankful that she was that helping hand, because I know lives were changed from that. I know, because she changed my life. Because she was my helping hand. She was my helping hand all the time. If I needed something, if I needed to talk, I would talk to my mom every single day. Every day. I didn't go a day without talking to my mom. I could be so angry at her, and I would still call her and talk to her, because that was my mom, And I knew no matter what, she would listen. She'd be irritated with me, but she would listen. She'd always open the door for me. She would always answer a phone call. She would always sit there and just let me talk. If I needed to cry, which I don't really think I cried. Well, I don't think I did. But she would be there. I remember one time I was so mad. I don't even know what it was about. But my mom really didn't cuss. When I cussed, like I don't remember ever cussing around my mom. So I was so mad about something. And I think the F bomb like dropped out of my mouth. Like I said it and I looked over at my mom and I was like, oh my goodness, like she is about to legit beat me. Here I am, a grown person, and she's gonna beat me. Like I know this is coming. Like I'm gonna get a smack to the face, like my lip is gonna be blue. Something is gonna go on because you just don't talk like that in front of my mom, you know? And I looked over at her and my mouth just dropped and I'm just waiting for it. Like I'm waiting for that smack across the face. But she didn't. She just looked at me like, you're grown, you know? But it hit me because I was like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe I just did that in front of my mom. And she just laughed. But it was those little things because it always stuck with me. And I remember this funny little thing too with my mom. My grandma, okay, she would always, and she was like the charge card queen. Well, I guess credit card queen now. But she had like Lazarus, JCPenney's, like all this stuff. One day our washer and dryer went out. And so grandma, of course, you know, goes to JCPenney, uses her card, gets washer and dryer. They come out, they hook it up, this and that. Well, my grandpa comes over one time and he's fixing something. And my mom goes, hey, Dad, thank you for the washer and dryer. And he looked at her and he was like, oh, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, okay, never mind, you know? Well, grandma had this habit of doing things like that and not telling grandpa about it. And then these charge card bills would come in the mail and she would just like shove them under her seat of the couch. Like grandpa was never going to know about it, you know? And it was so funny to me because my grandma would do this. Then my mom would end up saying something. So grandpa would find out, but grandpa already knew anyway, you know, because he knew. No matter how many times grandma went to race out to the mailbox before grandpa got home, grandpa knew. He just knew. He just like, it was no big deal to him, you know? It was those funny little things. And she just, I don't know. So I know there's probably some stories you have with your mom, the person that treated you. She was like your mom, you know? I know you have some funny stories like that. I know you have some times when you're sitting back and you're thinking, maybe a sad moment hits you. I have those sad moments. I do. Like I probably have them more than I can like really even admit. And you have those sad moments. Lean into them. Just lean into them. If you need to cry over a moment, cry over a moment. You know, if you need to laugh, remember those times. Hold on to those times. Hold them close. Cherish those times. And if your mom is still here and you have that relationship with her, don't leave anything unspoken. You know, you're going to get angry. You're going to get upset. Like all of that's going to happen because that's life. But don't hold on to it. It's not worth it because in the end, where does it leave you? It doesn't leave you anywhere. It doesn't make anything better. It doesn't do any of that. So if you need to say something, say it. And if you need to say something, like be careful because there are frustration statements. So if you're angry, you may say things that you don't really mean. So take a step back and just evaluate things before you let your mouth run. All right. But after you evaluate it, and then just say it. Sometimes it's about how you say things. Just say them out of love. But remember those times. Remember all those wonderful moments you had. Like the funny things that would happen. You know, I remember one time when my son, when he went to my mom's house, and I forget how old he was, but he was always used to my mom being sick. You know, my mom didn't sugarcoat anything. He goes over one day and he looks and he said, Grandma, what if I walk in the door and I find your bones? And she's like, started laughing. She's like, well, Chase, you need to call the police. And he's like, Grandma, I'm not calling the police. I'm not going to jail. Like, I'm not doing that. She's like, no, honey, that wouldn't happen. But it was those little things, you know, because kids, they'll just speak and they'll just say things. And things like that, they never got to my mom. She rolled with the punches. She didn't make him feel so bad that he said something like that. Like she wasn't like, well, how dare you say that? And she didn't do anything like that. She just rolled with it because she knew from the mind of a kid what they would think. And she would put things in a perspective where they could understand them. She would put it on their level and she'd make them feel so comfortable. And I remember this one time, my mom really, like, she didn't have, how do you put this? If you got hurt or something around my mom, you better get all your tears out. You better get all your feelings of how you're feeling or whatever out of your system before you approach her with it, because she wasn't dealing with all that drama. Like, she was not having it. It's like, okay, you're bleeding. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And you're done. Like I said, dry your tears up and let's move on. Maybe that's where I get it from. I don't know. But so there was one time there was this tree in her backyard, and there were these nails from where it was a tree house or something, and the head of the nails were sticking out. And she had told the kids, my brother and sister, she had told them, do not climb up that tree because there are nails on it and you're going to get hurt. Like, do not do it. She told them over and over again. Well, my son, being the person that he was that did not learn from other people, decided he needed to find out on his own that there were nails in this tree. So he goes and he climbs up the side of the tree and he starts to fall. He puts his hand down and the head of the nail goes right through the palm of his hand, like jagged, all the way maybe from his index finger to his palm, like going diagonal, going that way. Okay. So I get a phone call. And my mom never called me at work, so I knew it was important. So I rush over there, and he made the mistake of having this happen when he was at my mom's house because she didn't pull no punches. She don't care. You're not going to cry. She's going to clean it out. You're going to sit there and watch, but you're not going to cry. You're not going to get all upset. Okay. That's just how she was. So I go there and he's holding his hand together and he's like, Grandma made me open my hand and she kept washing it out with water, and he's crying, and she's looking at him like, dude, you really need to cut the tears. You just need to stop. So I look and it was so disgusting. Like, that because of the nail was jagged, like it was like Z, you know what I mean? Just like this jagged thing, just going down from one side to the other. And so she tells me, she's like, yeah, I held his palm underneath the water, made him open his hand and rinsed it out. And I'm like, okay, cool. So to me, I'm cool with that because I'm used to it, To my son, he's like, oh my goodness, like she about killed me. Well, he had to have stitches. Everything was fine. But if she didn't do that, he probably would have, who knows what would have happened to his hand. So they knew. They knew that this is how Grandma was. But they also knew that they could play on Grandma's emotions. She had emotions for them. She didn't have them for us, but she had them for them. And so it's just those little memories that I hang on to, that anytime that I start to feel a certain way or get upset, I think of those little things. I think of how she loved so deeply. I think of how she loved everyone. She may not like you, but she loves you. Okay. There was a big difference. And I think of how if she had to tell you something, she wasn't going to sugarcoat it. There were many times that she would tell me that she doesn't know how that Jamie would put up with me because I was so mean. And I'm like, Mom, I'm your daughter. How are you going to talk to me like that? She's like, no, you are seriously mean. I don't know why he stays with you. And yeah, I was like, Mom, that's kind of rude, but hey, it is what it is. That was years ago. Everything's changed. We got divorced since then. We got back together. Everything's fine. You know what I mean? But yeah, she didn't hold any punches. So I know there's things that you can think of. There's memories that you have. There's maybe a birthday card you got. There's maybe I remember this one time when all us kids, we loved animals and stuff. So there was this one time that we saw this stray dog, little puppy, and we told my mom, we're like, Mom, we want this puppy. It's running around, this and that, da, da, da. She's like, no, you're not getting a puppy. So you tell me no. I wasn't a rule follower back then. You tell me no, and I'm going to do it anyway. So I see this little puppy, and I get this puppy, and I bring it in the house, and I fix it all up in the laundry room, I have a little gate, this and that. Well, my mom wasn't happy. She was not happy at all. So then I go to school. The next day I come home, I see this animal control thing or something. I don't even know what it was. And all I remember is seeing this little puppy. And this probably isn't how it happened, but in a 7 or 8-year-old's head, this is all I saw. I see this gigantic man holding this little bitty puppy by the scruff of his neck. And he just grabs that puppy and throws it in the back of a van. And I'm like, are you serious? It reminded me of how trash people throw the trash on a trash truck. It reminded me of that. And I was severely traumatized. Well, come to find out, this puppy had all kind of worms and all kind of other things. And she told me not to get the puppy. And this is just how it was. But when I was little, like, I was like, my goodness, like, my mom just did this. So yeah, that hit me, but I understood afterwards. Then I remember my mom couldn't stand cats. She liked kittens, but she couldn't stand cats. One day we brought home a stray cat, and I remember I opened the door and the cat took off and ran up the tree. And she was like, that's one good way to get rid of the cat. And I was like, are you serious? And then that cat was gone. But I know you have those stories. I know you have them. So during this time when it hits you, because it's going to hit you. You know why it's going to hit you? Because there was that love in your heart and you still hold that love in your heart. So honor their memory, honor everything. Don't act like they didn't live. Don't not talk about them because you don't know how people are going to respond. Don't hold that in. See, so many times we don't talk about our loved ones that pass away because we're just kind of afraid to, you know? But then you got to think they lived a life. They lived a good life. Don't we need to honor their life? I think we do. So we need to talk about those times. We need to make sure that their memory lives on and it continues to live on for years and years and generations to come. So that's why we need to talk about them. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. Like, it's really going to sting. The tears are going to fall. The smiles are going to show. The laughter is going to happen. But we need to talk about them, you know? And sometimes it's painful. Like, it really is. There was a long time I couldn't talk about my mom. I couldn't talk about her because it hurt so deep. It was too soon. It hurt. And I think it's because I was probably still angry and I just couldn't talk about her. I would break down crying. Like, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I was bitter and I was angry. Yeah, it was like a bad time. And I think about it, and because of that time, I kind of took that away from my kids because they don't know as much about her as they should. And my younger kids that never got to meet her, I didn't tell them about her because it was too painful for me. So what did I really do? I kind of robbed them of that time. You know, when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, I really robbed them. I could have done better. So you're going to have those times, you know, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be very difficult, but bring them up, talk about them, write about them, sing about them, laugh about them, spread their love. You know, they taught you things. They taught you things that you're teaching your kids, that your kids are going to teach their kids, that your kids teach their friends, that you teach your friends, that get carried on for generations. You know, it's so awesome because here's the thing. We are so quick to remember the bad things. We're so quick to talk about the bad things. We're so quick to hold the bad things in a place, where we might just hang on to them, leave them there like baggage, you know? We're so quick to do that. We're so quick. And when it comes to the good times, we forget. We forget. We got to flip that. We got to focus on the good things. See, when I'm talking about the bad times, I'm talking about the time when your loved one was so sick that they couldn't move, okay? When your loved one, your mom or your grandma, you know, when they were so sick that they couldn't tell you they love you back. When they were so sick, they couldn't open their eyes. They couldn't look around them. You'd go to touch them and they didn't even realize it. Or the bad times when you're sitting there and you're talking to them and you know that it's probably going to be your last conversation. Or you don't know it's going to be your last conversation. So maybe you don't say everything that you need to say. That's what I'm talking about with the bad times. We hold on to those. We hold on to those memories. We hold on to the times when they're so sick and we don't know what to do because the whole time they've been sick, we've been praying and praying and praying that they're going to get better, that they're going to beat this, that they're going to come through on the other side and we're going to have another Mother's Day. Like, we're going to have another one, you know? But that's not how our prayer got answered. And so sometimes we don't like that. We don't like that part and we want to hold on to that part because God answers everyone else's prayer. Why didn't he answer mine? Why didn't he answer mine when I said, hey, can you heal my mom? Hey, why can't my mom breathe? Can you make my mom better again? Can you make my grandma better again? Why didn't he answer those prayers? He does it for everyone else. So those are the things that we're holding on to. And what we have to flip it because God answered our prayer. Our loved ones aren't suffering anymore. Our moms aren't suffering. Our grandmas aren't suffering. Our aunts aren't suffering. Ever that special one was close to you that was like your mom, if they were sick, they're not suffering anymore. They're not suffering. They can breathe. They're good. Our prayer was answered because they may have not got healed here on earth, but they got healed in heaven. That is our ultimate goal. That's it. And our prayers got answered, but they didn't get answered the way we wanted them to. There's the thing. It comes into how we want it to be. we seem to always forget that part, We keep throwing in the how we, like, it needs to be our way, because our way it's the way that matters. It's the way we want it. But we forget that. It's not our way. It's not our way. God answered our prayers, just not the way we want it. Okay? So I really need you to hear that, because I think we get stuck on that. I know I got stuck on that for a long time. I was bitter. I was angry. I was bad. Like, I was terrible. It was really, really terrible. And I was really angry at God. Very angry. And I was angry at my mom. Really angry. And because I couldn't face it. I couldn't deal with it. Because here I was, not even 30 years old. And my dad had died before that. And now my mom's dead? Like, seriously? What other blows can come my way? Like, what are you doing to me? What did I do? This is how I felt. What did I do that was so wrong, and so bad that my parents are gone? Like, legit, what did I do? And that's how I felt, And I held on to that for so long. And what did I do that my parents would not take care of themselves to make sure that they were around for me and my kids, and my brother and sister? I felt like, what did I do that was so wrong that they didn't want to be here anymore? And I didn't know where these feelings were coming from. I really didn't. But I had them. And I didn't know how to express them. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't even know where to begin to talk about them, because nobody I knew my age was going through anything like that. So years later is when I realized that, and I knew, and I know now, that, and I rest assured. So what I realized is that God answered all of my prayers, every single one of them. They just weren't answered the way that I thought they should be, the way that I wanted them to be, the way I would have liked them to be. And in my eyes, I thought they weren't answered. And it took me a long time to realize they were. And it took me a long time to realize I'm not in control of everything. That God's plans are bigger than mine. So as you sit here, and that's what I mean by sometimes we focus on all the bad things, not the bad things maybe that have happened in life or this and that, but the bad part being that they died, and that they're not here anymore. We don't get those phone calls. We don't get those smiles. We don't get that laughter. We don't get that text message. We don't get those pictures. That's what I mean. So here's what you can do. Remember the good times. Remember every good moment. Remember all the times you laughed together. Remember the little stories you have. Just think about those. Those stories will get you through. Break out a picture. Just look at that picture. Start talking about them. And if you don't have anyone to talk to about your mom or your grandma or your aunt, whoever was like a mom to you, if you don't have anyone to talk to, let me know. You can always talk to me. Always. Because I get it. And I get those times. I understand those times, And I don't ever want you to hold things in because you feel like there's no one to talk to. Don't hold it in. So what are some times that you had? And maybe this is the first year that you're having to live without your mom on Mother's Day. And I want you to know I see you. And I feel your pain. I feel it. I understand it. No, I totally get it. I get it. And I know you're probably going to want to shut people out. You're probably going to want to just not even deal with Mother's Day. I get it. I was there. Even if you're a mom, you may feel like that. Okay. Don't feel bad about that. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about that. You may feel like that because you are missing your mom so bad. And you love your kids. You love your kids dearly, but you're missing your mom. And your feelings are valid. They are totally valid. So if people don't understand, don't go out of your way to try and make them understand. Okay. Because they're not going to get it. Their mom's a phone call away. They're not going to get it. They don't get it until they get it. Okay. Show them a little grace. You might get a little mad at them, but show them some grace because they don't understand. And maybe your grandma's not around, and your grandma was more of a mom to you than your mom was. This is your first time, the first Mother's Day you've had to go without her. I remember that time. I remember after my mom died. And I remember my grandma were always close. But after my mom died, my grandma was like my rock. And I remember that first Mother's Day without my grandma. Oh man, that was just as painful as it was on the first Mother's Day without my mom. I went to buy her a card, everything, because my grandma was my rock. So I get it. If this is your first Mother's Day without your grandma, I see you. I see you. Cherish the smiles. Think about all the good times. Cry when you need to cry. It's a first. Firsts are so difficult. They really are difficult. And don't just try and breeze through them. Don't just try and not to acknowledge your feelings. Acknowledge your feelings. Your feelings matter. You matter. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Your feelings matter and you matter. Acknowledge your feelings. You are missing someone that you loved so dearly, and they were such an intricate part of your life and who you are, how you are who you are, and every part of you. They weaved pieces in and out of your life for your entire life. You know, that's special. They're special. Those are moments that you hang on to. They were important. Their legacy is important. You know, I remember my grandma used to tell me that Jesus was her best friend. And I remember when she went into surgery and she wouldn't sign the power of attorney papers for anything. Like, she wouldn't sign it. And she told me because she did not want to do that to me. She did not want me to have to make the decisions like I had to make with my mom. She didn't want to do that to me. And I told her, you know, we were sitting in the hospital. It was like 12:30 midnight or so, a little after midnight. And she needs this emergency surgery. And I was like, Grandma, I will make whatever decisions you want me to make. However you need me to make them, whatever you want. I don't care what it is. I will go to the end of everything to make sure that you have what you need, you know, and to make sure you're taken care of. And she's like, I know you will. And that's why I don't want to sign the papers. Because she knew what that did to me with my mom. And at that point, like, I didn't care what it was going to do to me, because all I was worried about was my grandma. Like, I needed my grandma. I really wanted her to be better. And I didn't care what I had to go through. She was the only thing that mattered. And I told her, I said, Grandma, I understand, but I just need you to know that I will do it. I'll do whatever you need me to do. So here's Grandma before they get ready to take her back for surgery. And this crazy old lady had been carrying around these power of attorney papers in her purse the entire time. Like, for months, she'd been carrying them around, and everything was filled out except for her signature. I mean, that was my grandma. That's how she did things. It was going to be on her time, you know? So they're taking her back because she had an artery going all the way up from her groin, like all the way down to her knee. And this artery was clogged, or like blood vessel was clogged, something. I don't even remember. And so they're sitting there, they're like, okay, we need to take you back, this and that. And so they go around her and they're like, can we pray for you? And I'm like, whoa, this is a hospital and they're asking her that? And I thought it was like really, really awesome. And she's like, yeah, of course. So the doctors get around and the nurses get around her and everybody says a prayer before they take Grandma back. And she says, hold on a minute. And she reaches in her purse and she grabs out these papers. Here comes Grandma. She's coming in clutch, making sure this is done. So she grabs these papers out of her purse and she signs these papers before they wheel her away. And I was like, Grandma, you gonna be okay? You need anything? And she's like, no, I'm good. She said, you know, I got my best friend and he's on my shoulders. I'm like, what? You know, what's Grandma talking about? She's like, you know, my best friend's Jesus and he's right here with me and he's going to be with me the entire time I'm back there and he's going to make sure everything's okay. I was like, whoa, you know, like that's deep. That is so deep. And the thing that I remember about my grandma and what always stuck with me when she was sick, like when she was so sick and she knew she was dying. And her faith never wavered. Her faith never weakened. Her faith it was never shaken, you know? She never doubted anything. She never asked why. She told us she'd be okay, you know? She knew where she was going. And so I remember when they came in with hospice and they told us we had a little get together and we invited everyone over, you know? Grandma didn't really know what was going on. She kind of thought we were celebrating Sissy's birthday. And so everybody came to see her because it knew that this was going to be the last time that everybody got to see her. So everybody's over there and we have cake and we do all that. And then, you know, everybody leaves and Grandma was still talking and stuff. And a couple days later, she wanted pizza. Like it was on a Friday and she wanted pizza. And so I got her pizza because that's what Grandma wanted, you know. Well, it ended up being that pizza was like the last meal that she could eat. And I just wanted to make sure that she had what she wanted.
They said it was only going to be like 7 days or something like that. Like, I don't even remember. So then after she had the pizza and stuff, like, she was out of it. This was a time where she actually let me get the refrigerator, well, because she didn't know, to get the morphine and to get everything else that she needed. So I remember she's laying there, and then on that Monday, she didn't speak. Okay, she didn't speak. She did the normal like moans and things like that, but she wasn't moving. She wasn't speaking. She wasn't doing any of that. And on Monday, the chaplain called me and he said, "Hey, how's Dorothy doing?" And I said, "Hey, this is what's going on. We really don't have that many days left. We're just cherishing everything that we have." So he's like, "Hey, can I come over? And do you mind if I come over and I pray with her?" And I'm like, "Oh, Grandma would love that," because he would always come over about once a week or so. And he'd sit down with us and he'd read stories and he'd pray, and Grandma just cherished that time. So she had this recliner. I'll never forget this. It just so sticks out with me. She had this recliner and her faith was so strong. Like so strong. This is why I tell people, when you think people are laying there and even though they can't move, they may not be able to talk, you best believe they can hear you. They can hear everything. Okay, so just remember that if you're ever going through this, they can hear everything. So he comes over and she's laying back in her recliner, and he's at the foot of the recliner and he says, "Hey, Dorothy, do you mind if I pray with you?" My grandma sat all the way up. She put her hands in the air in the praying position and she brought them back down in the praying position. And she stayed like that until he was done praying. And that's a miracle. That's a miracle. Grandma knew she was dying, okay? She knew she was going. She knew she didn't have much time. But if you said, "Can I pray with you?" that is what she did. That's what she did when he said that. Like, that was a miracle. That's a God thing, So don't try and tell me God's not real. That's a God thing. That is a God thing. And that's what I will tell everyone. If you want to look for a big miracle and you want to say God's not real because you don't see this big miracle that you've been wanting forever, but here God does these little miracles around you every single day, but you don't see them because you're too focused on something big. So you turn your head away from these small miracles, like you waking up every day, getting in your car and getting where you need to go without getting in an accident. All these small miracles, and you miss them. So if you can't see the small miracles in life, why would God show you a big miracle? Because he can't even trust you with the small ones. That's what you need to remember. So that's what I tell people when they want to tell me God's not real. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to show you why he is real. Okay? So my grandma knew she was dying. She knew all of this. But yeah, she was peaceful. She was so peaceful because she knew Jesus. And she knew where she was going. And she knew one day she would see us again. And she did not want us to be sad. She wanted us to rejoice and to remember her life. Remember how she lived. Remember how she loved. So if this is your first without your grandma, you remember those times. You remember how they loved. You remember how they lived. Remember how you were their number one. Remember how you made their day. Remember how you made their day. Remember that feeling that you got every time you just looked at them. Just remember those times. And one day you'll see them again. One day you will. And if you need someone to talk to, if you don't know what to say or how to say it, pray about it. And when you've prayed about it and you've sat there and you need to talk about it, also, I'm here for you. I'm totally here for you because I get it. I get it. And these verses hit. They hit. And they hit kind of hard. But they don't have to hit you so hard to where they keep you down and when you're knocked totally out, okay? I just want you to know that. They don't have to hit you like that. They don't. They may want to. They may sting so bad and it feels like it's going to hit you like that, but it doesn't have to keep you down. If it's starting to get you down, you remember. You remember how they were. You remember how they loved. You remember how they lived. Remember how they laughed. And remember how they made you feel. All right? So I'm just going to leave you with that. I'm just going to leave you with just knowing that you're going to see them again because you know Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, we can talk about that too. Just let me know. I'll be more than happy to talk about that with you. We can do that. So remember, I'm here for you. Have a happy Mother's Day, no matter what you're doing. Just know you're loved, know you're seen, and know that you're special and you're one of a kind.